Hello everyone and welcome to the 4Roots Farm headquarters. Hi, I'm Gannon. I'm Ethan's cousin. I'm the operations manager here at 4Roots Farm. I'm sure all of you have eaten barbecue at Four Rivers before. 4Roots is actually the other side of Four Rivers, where the foundation side. We are creating an educational farm, and part of our educational farm is this hydroponic shipping container greenhouse that we're sitting in today. Here in our hydroponic greenhouse, we grow anything leafy greens. So that means lettuces, spinach, and other leafy greens that actually grow in these hydroponic towers. So what we do is we start with seeds, like these cilantro seeds right here. And we plant them in this little soil pod that has a hole in the top. You take a seed, stick it in the soil top, and then you plant them in these trays right here. I planted these this morning, and in about 3 weeks they'll start to look like this right here. Right now we got a bunch of romaine lettuce going, and we also have cilantro in the back. Once the seeds are planted in this tray right here, you water them, and then you put them here in the initial seed tray for the first week. Once the seeds are in there, once the trays are in, you put these moisture retaining lids on top of them so that it keeps the water in there and it keeps the seeds well moisturized. After they sit in here for about a week, they get plenty of light, but they don't get any more water until the next week. Once you have small plants starting to emerge, they go in what's called the top seeding tray, like this, and they'll stay in this top seeding tray for the next week. Now, once they're in the top seeding tray, they'll get light for 18 hours, and they'll also get water and nutrients from this seeding tank right here, which will consist of not only water, but normal soil nutrients, like nitrogen, magnesium, and other nutrients that it gets from the soil. So after the plants have been in the seeding tank for 3 weeks, they will go into these upright towers. As you see, there will be 4 rows of these upright towers with these LED lights. With the same concept of the seeding tank, they'll get light for about 12 hours a day, and they'll be in the darkness for about another 12 hours. There's a 150-gallon water tank in the back of the freight farm that flows upwards to the top through a series of pipes, and the water drains back down through these towers, giving nutrients to the seeds, to the plants, and also giving them water. Once the water runs through these towers, it collects in these trays at the bottom, and then it goes back to the big seeding tank in the back. That way it's a closed loop watering system, and it only uses about 5 to 10 gallons of water per day. Once the water comes up through these pipes and drains back down through, the water goes through a series of sensors that tells the computer system in the front of the freight farm how much nutrients is needed to add back into the water. These series of nutrients right here are what is added to the water to make it simulate soil, because this is a soilless type of farming. This computer system right here is called Agritech. It's connected to my phone and my computer, so I'm able to remotely operate the farm without even having to come in. I can tell the computer how much nutrients the plants need, how much water they need, how much light, and how much airflow, as well as a lot of other things that I can control. Once the plants are big enough to go into this tower after 3 weeks, you take the individual plants out of the trays, but you keep them in the pod. You plant them in the upright towers at a 45-degree angle facing up, so that when they grow out, they don't slouch down. Once the plants are in the upright towers, you hang them right below the watering system so that the water drains down into the tank in the bottom. After about 4 or 5 weeks in the upright towers, you have full heads of lettuce just like you buy in the grocery store. These are the lights that the plants grow towards. The wavelengths of these lights give off the same wavelength that the sun does. That way the plants know to grow out towards the light, and it helps them with photosynthesis, which makes the plant grow bigger. These shipping containers are very important to a lot of parts of the world. Countries like Israel are leading in the technology of hydroponics. The reason why is because a lot of these places that grow or that are in the desert don't have the ability to grow certain things like lettuces. The temperature is too hot, the soil is too sandy, and it's not ideal growing conditions. Places like this allow countries like Israel and other Middle East countries to grow hydroponically and create an ideal environment to grow certain lettuces and other crops so that they can feed the people of their country. Other advantages to having a shipping container or a hydroponic greenhouse like this is that you can control certain things like temperature by creating the right temperature to grow these types of lettuces and leafy greens, but you also don't have the chance of pests getting in here, so you don't have a lot of bugs or opportunity for bacteria and things like that to come in and eat your lettuces as well. You can create a totally sterile environment that's ideal for your lettuce to grow in. Up here we have our growing calendars. This allows us to set dates to where we plant and harvest so that we have a rotational crop. That way we don't harvest a ton of lettuce at once and then we have nothing the next week. So what we do is each row of towers has a week's worth of lettuce. This shipping container alone produces about 600 heads of lettuce per week, and we will rotate that so that each week we will harvest about that many. That way we don't have the entire container full at one time and then the next week we don't have anything. In addition to our hydroponic shipping container, we also grow things in raised garden beds to show people that they can do this kind of stuff at home. Right now we've got corn, we've got peppers, and we've got broccoli that's just starting as well. So this is something that we can show the public to say, hey, you are able to do this in your backyard and you don't need a huge farm in order to be self-sufficient with food. So after we harvest all of our crops out of our shipping container and our garden beds, they go into refrigerated warehouses like this. You have to have a jacket because it's nice and cold in there. We usually keep it around 38 degrees. A lot of the times, once we harvest, just like your refrigerator at home, we need to keep this stuff cold. That way it gives us a longer shelf life and we can get it out to restaurants or people in need with our Feed the Need program or the 4Roots Cafe and Mesa Science Center in Orlando. These bins right here look like regular trash cans, but they're specifically for compost. So we do not waste anything here at this warehouse. Any kind of castings from plants that have gone bad, fruits, vegetables that are no longer good to eat, we throw them in these bins right here. We have partnered with a company here in Orlando that takes these bins and they compost all of the excess food that we don't use. And that way they make very good topsoil for planting more plants. It's very nutrient-rich soil and the plants thrive in it. So the 4Roots Farm Campus is actually still under construction and won't be done until about this time next year. That's why we've taken you on a tour of the 4Roots headquarters here in Orlando. I hope you guys had a great time touring the facility and the freight farm, and I hope that you guys will go and check out more information at 4rootsfarm.org. But for now, it was nice having you, and I appreciate it.
The challenge has been, how do we make the greatest impact when there's so many different variables that lend into what we're facing in the broken food system? So 4Roots is a representation of going after those 4 key issues that we hope and pray make the biggest difference. And it is health and well-being, it's education, it's sustainability, taking care of the land, and it's job creation, it's economy.
People can come to learn about sustainable agriculture, learn about different ways of growing, from hydroponic to aquaponic to soil-based farming.
I think one of the great things about 4Roots initiative is that it's going to energize young people to get into farming.
And we're going to be able to bring folks from our community, from families and children to anyone who's really curious about seeing what the future of food can look like in Central Florida.